Chapter 206 God's Intricacies. A few hours later, after several teleportations, Elysienne reached the God domain. As a new god, she was not yet familiar with the various coordinates of the Aetherium realm. Otherwise, it would have only taken her a single teleportation to reach the God domain. What a magnificent God domain! Elysienne thought longingly. Even her panic seemed to calm down within the magnificent sight of the God domain. From architecture to the flora and fauna, everything seems to be the embodiment of gods. The holiness spread in place can convert a mortal without belief to the most devout believer immediately. Moreover, if ranked accordingly, the God domain is the richest, most populated, and most magnificent place in the world. It is said that 98% of the divine continent's wealth and power is concentrated in the God domain. Even the origin domain, the center of power in the whole Aetherium realm, cannot match the place. When it comes to power, the origin domain is only the nurturing place of geniuses, not the concentration place of the strong. As for wealth, the arcane continent is not ruled by a single individual but by multiple apex sovereigns. Even Fialon, the strongest in the arcane continent, needs to seek permission from his peers if he wants to do something significant. Unlike the arcane continent, the divine continent is simply divided into 4 strata. First is the supreme god, Radius, the god of the sun, the god of light, the god of gods. The second group consists of high gods, those who have fully mastered their authority. They were mostly the managers, keeping the divine continent as it is. The third group is the new gods, individuals who are new to their authority or can barely control their authority. These gods are the most in number, using millions as a start. Lastly, the puppet gods, who have become assimilated with their authority and possess very little power over the laws. These gods were usually treated as a scourge, the vermin of the divine continent. Other gods are usually tasked with eliminating them so that new gods can immediately replace them. With this structure, the supreme god Radius can do whatever he wants. The god domain is his territory, so the concentration of wealth within the land is only natural. Just as Elysienne was daydreaming, an annoying pest seemed to notice her.
Elysienne, when did you come to the god domain?
Why didn't you tell me? Oregon, the god of desire, asked obsessively. Seeing the annoying pest, Elysienne's frown deepened. Oregon was the lover of the previous goddess of love. As the one who inherited her authority, Oregon became obsessed with Elysienne to the point of annoyance. Fortunately, Oregon was also a new god, so he couldn't force her.
What's wrong, Elysienne, my love? Don't you miss me?
Oregon teased. Just as he was about to continue teasing, he felt a hint of love emanating from Elysienne's authority. This usually only happens when the goddess of love develops her love to a man. The previous goddess of love also had this. She loved him so deeply that her consciousness collapsed, becoming assimilated with her authority. This was actually his plan so that he could devour the authority of love. As for his feelings for the previous goddess, that was just a hoax. As a god, his need for women could be satisfied with a snap of his fingers. Why would he bother himself with another god? However, just when he was about to succeed, a pesky believer suddenly pops up and robs him of all his hard work. Seeing the changes, Oregon had no choice but to repeat his plan and transfer his sights to Elysienne. Feeling the hint of love within her, Oregon felt happy for a while. However, upon further inspection, gloominess replaced his smile as he felt the presence of another man.
Who is it?
Oregon suddenly yelled as his aura flared up. How could he stand his goddess loving another man beside him? You don't have to care, Elysienne replied emotionlessly.
Tell me and I'll kill the man.
Oregon said, putting pressure on Elysienne. You'd better be careful, this is the god domain, Elysienne warned. As the territory of the supreme god, fighting is forbidden here. Any damage would label you as a puppet god, making you a target for all other gods. Oregon also calmed down, though his killing intent was still apparent. Can you get out of my face now? My business has nothing to do with you. Oregon didn't bother any longer and left. However, before he left, he imprinted the man's presence in Elysienne's body to his mind. Once he met the man, he could kill him in Elysienne's very own eyes. This should pollute Elysienne's authority, giving him a chance. After dealing with the annoying pest, Elysienne came to the Council of Gods hoping to seek help. Previously, the idea of venturing into the extreme virtual world to fix her curse of the zealous which also came from this council. It's just that Elysienne didn't know what went wrong and another problem came up. Upon entering the most magnificent building she had ever seen, Elysienne was greeted by a devout believer. "I am humbled in your divine presence, O goddess of love," the believer chanted. "You are welcome, my child. May love and beauty shine through you," Elysienne replied with a smile. "This is one of the codes of conduct for gods. When meeting any believer, you must show your holiness so as not to shame the name of the gods. Unless you are the supreme god, you must follow all these etiquettes. Especially for the new gods, they are like stars in the sky, although unreachable, they should give light and holiness to their spectators." After dealing with all the troublesome etiquette, she finally met Rulliana, the goddess of governance and affairs. Rulliana was one of the high gods directly under the supreme god Radius. "The goddess of love, pleased to meet you," Rulliana greeted. "I've met Lady Rulliana," Elysienne greeted respectfully. "Why have you come here? Did the treatment I proposed last time not work?" "No, Lady Rulliana, it's just that a new problem has come up," Elysienne said, a bit embarrassed. She then released the pollution attached to her authority. Oregon could sense it immediately because of his relationship with the previous goddess of love. Others, without deliberately sensing it, would not notice. "Oh, a hint of love? You should conquer this to become stronger," Rulliana teased a little. "Anyway, you just need to solve the root of the problem or become stronger. This is after all your authority. I can't do much about it," Rulliana shook her head. "That said, can Lady Rulliana at least help suppress it?" Elysienne requested. Given the rate at which the hint of love within her was growing, it would only take a few years before it fully erupted. "Of course, it's easy," Rulliana agreed immediately. As one of the managers of the Council of Gods, she liked to see more and more gods promoted to high god status. Those new and puppet gods were merely decorations when it came to a true apex sovereign. A talented tier 8th being in the arcane continent could easily overpower any new or puppet god if given the chance. This is also why, despite having millions of gods in the divine continent, they were still no match to the arcane continent. Yes, there are millions of gods, and each has the authority of a fragmented version of law. Authorities like desire, love, lust, beauty, etc. are all somewhat similar and can be merged to create a stronger authority. "Thank you," Elysienne expressed her gratitude after Rulliana finished suppressing the pollution in her authority. Elysienne estimated that she still had thousands of years to find the perpetrator or become stronger to eliminate this pollution. "No problem, this is how it should be," Rulliana didn't take it to heart. New gods came to her all the time with their problems, and Elysienne was just one of them. After some more pleasantries, Elysienne exited the building and returned to her territory. In Elysium domain. After Elysienne returned, she gathered her devoted followers to address them. "My children, this is the mark," Elysienne stated, imparting the breath of the offender, who polluted her authority. "As soon as you find the person who matches this, report to me without delay." "O goddess, can you guide us to the whereabouts of the wrongdoer?" One faithful believer stepped forward and asked. Elysienne then realized that finding an unknown individual solely by their breath would be an impossible task. Considering this, she thought for a while and replied, "In the arcane continent, the origin domain should hold the answer." This was the conclusion she reached. The one responsible for sullying her divine authority could only be someone hailing from the origin domain. More precisely, a person who has a connection to the Origin Arcana Institute. With this new insight, her devout followers immediately sprang into action, ready to carry out the will of their beloved goddess. "We shall heed your command without delay, O goddess Elysienne." Chapter 207 Daily Life. 3 months later, in Moonlight Empire. In the castle, Maximus was reviewing what had happened in the past few months. It had been half a year since the sea beast tide began. However, even now, the sea beasts were still ravaging the land. Furthermore, due to the concentration of the amalgamation of will in his empire, the sea beast attacks had grown stronger. Fortunately, over time, he had released more puppets, numbering over 100,000. These Tier 8 puppets, which had been downgraded to Tier 6, were already attracting a little attention. After all, an invincible Tier 6 puppet was rare, and Maximus had over 100,000 of them. Others asked him where he had acquired such powerful puppets, expressing their desire to buy similar ones. Maximus simply replied that he had created them himself and that they were not for sale. As for his people, they had already been evacuated to a safe location where they could be protected. Although the sea beast tide was ongoing, peace had gradually returned to normal. Furthermore, all the sea beasts that had been killed were sold in the arcane continent for profit, earning him a few trillion magic crystals each month. Other empires also took advantage of this opportunity to make money by hunting sea beasts and acquiring new territories on the side. After he finished reviewing the events in the past half a year, Maximus stretched his hands, ready to return to the city of Arcana. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door.
"Come in," Maximus called.
"I've come to see you, Your Majesty," a Silver Atom, the Dean of Moonlight Academy, greeted.
"What's the matter?"
Maximus asked. By now, the previous Silver Atom, who had been affected by defaulting contract and was downgraded to Tier 4, had returned to his peak strength. Contracts are supervised by law, so it couldn't be removed without the intervention of similar law. Thus, years ago, as soon as Maximus got money from selling books, he had purchased a Tier 9 potion to eliminate the contract's backlash in Silver Atom's body. Now, Silver Atom possessed the power of a 6th-tier being, making him the strongest in the Empire. "It's the graduation ceremony of Moonlight Academy, Your Majesty," the Silver Atom informed. "Oh, it has been over 10 years since the establishment of the Academy," Maximus recalled. "Very well, I will attend the ceremony later," Maximus said, thinking that Silver Atom had come to invite him.
"Thank you, Your Majesty."
Silver Atom expressed his gratitude.
Your Majesty, how about the rewards?"
Silver Atom looked at Maximus with anticipation. Being an irresponsible dean who often indulged in alcohol, Silver Atom certainly didn't come to Maximus not just to invite him but also to claim the rewards he felt he deserved. "Don't worry about the rewards for now, I will give them to you after the graduation ceremony," Maximus agreed but didn't promise an immediate reward. "Thank you, Your Majesty. You are indeed the most generous ruler in the world," a Silver Atom praised, his eyes lighting up. All right, just go. Remember to do a good job, your reward is based on your performance," Maximus advised. "Don't worry, Your Majesty.
Leave it to me,"
Silver Atom assured. In Arcana City, after scheduling the graduation ceremony for a month later, Maximus returned to his home. Not finding his wives and children there, Maximus proceeded to his training chamber. On his way, he noticed Sky still training vigorously without any regard for her safety. Fortunately, Maximus had already created an item that could store personalized healing therapy for Sky. Otherwise, he would have had to work tirelessly just to keep Sky alive. Sky had already discarded her disguise. Maximus informed her months ago that he had seen already through her disguise. Surrounded by his wives and children, Maximus couldn't allow Sky to continue masquerading as a man. In his mind, his family should only be surrounded by him, Maximus, the husband and father of the family. Well, that's at least he thought of. He then told Sky to either remove her disguise or leave the house. At first, Sky was a little shocked to know that Maximus had spotted her disguise. After all, even a Tier 9 Apex Sovereign wouldn't be able to see through it without a deep inspection. Maximus, of course, would not tell her about the system. He just attributed it that he is sensitive to the physique of a woman. Sky thought he was joking at first, but upon seeing Maximus' wives, she began to believe it. Upon entering his training chamber, Maximus manipulated the array and disconnected his connection to the outside world. He did all of this to prevent others from spying on him.
"Let's start."
Closing his eyes, Maximus began to meditate.
Huh?
3 hours later, his meditation ended. Maximus didn't force himself to train, requiring only a minimum of 3 hours of meditation per day. After meditation, Maximus opened his system and purchased a multitude of knowledge. From mechanics, techniques, spells, cultivation manuals, and more. He then used the billions of system life points he had earned for the day to quickly master this knowledge. His billions of life points came from his wives, the amalgamation of will, and the abyss source. Maximus' daily progress could be compared to almost 10 million years a day. The time dilation that could only go up to 1,000,000 times is insignificant in comparison. With these achievements, Maximus could proudly claim that when it came to lower tier, there was no one more knowledgeable than him in all dimensions. Of course, this referred to the depth of knowledge he possessed, not the variety of it. After all, Maximus primarily focused on mechanics and knowledge to enhance his training. After finishing his meditation and absorbing knowledge, he headed to his laboratory. There, various exquisite and advanced instruments from all dimensions were neatly arranged. If anyone were to see it, they would be envious, as even an Apex Sovereign would desire some of these instruments. Maximus had invested quadrillions of magic crystals in this laboratory. It included everything from simple printing machines to highly advanced engraving machines. He didn't even hesitate to spend the fortune he saved to hopefully buy the ultimate treasures he needed to condense his Tier 5 foundation. As for why did he go to such lengths to acquire all this? The answer was simple: Maximus had too much wealth with nowhere else to spend it. Whether it was for training or entertainment, just a few trillion was enough to cover his and his family's expenses. His guild and empire generated their own value without requiring further investments. Thus, Maximus had only two main needs: ultimate treasures and knowledge. Knowledge wasn't too expensive, while the ultimate treasures were too costly that he considered shelving them for now. With all this money lying, how can he let it rot in his system? Thinking of that, he didn't have any decent laboratory equipment. He quickly used almost all his remaining money to buy a set for his satisfaction. Now, using his laboratory, the micro-surveillance bots shrank from 1 micrometer to 10 picometers, a 100,000-fold difference. While the information exchange capabilities of the micro-surveillance bots remained the same, all other aspects had been significantly upgraded, including their concealment, image clarity, stability, durability, etc. By now, except for the top empires, there were micro-surveillance bots spread all over the continent. The current number of micro-surveillance bots was still insufficient to be deployed within top empires. Earlier, when Maximus attempted it, the concentrated amalgamation of will perceived the micro-surveillance boys as a foreign virus and eliminated it. Maximus had no choice but to upgrade its capabilities before launching it to the top empires. Soon, he began his work, trying what he had in mind. Although he possessed the knowledge and had mastered it in theory, he still needed to carry it out personally. Especially in delicate work, even a small change or step could result in the created item being vastly different. After spending a few hours in the laboratory, he left his training chamber. Now it was time to spar with Sky. When he arrived at her training chamber, Sky was already suited up and ready for battle.
"This time I will defeat you,"
Sky declared seriously. Even with countless reincarnations, Sky still couldn't beat Maximus in terms of skills. Nourished by a wide array of fighting skills from various dimensions, Maximus had already become invincible in the same tier. "You're daydreaming again," Maximus teased as he launched his attack. With an abundance of world origin energy, he no longer needed to fight in the ancient battlefields. Agreeing to spar with Sky was simply a way to train his body to adapt to various changes in battle. Again, all the knowledge that he had is only in theory. He could execute it precisely due to his fast thinking and perfect control over his body. The shortcomings of this is that he will be slowed down in decisive moments. This happened when his opponent is equally strong. Like Sky, although he could predict her moves, he was still nearly defeated a few times. Fighting with Sky allowed him to refine his fighting skills and ingrained it into his instincts. After an hour of intense sparring, he exhaled heavily and ended the battle.
"Huh?
It seems you still have a long way to go before defeating me," Maximus teased.
"Just wait, I will defeat you someday," Sky vowed.
Following the battle, his wives and children returned. After all, unlike him, a core student, his children and wives still had to attend classes. At the dinner table, they discussed various activities from their day, from school events, training, entertainment, etc. This daily meal served as a time for bonding, strengthening their relationships. After dinner, the children went to their own rooms to do various activities. Maximus and his wives also got to work on creating the next generation to continue his family bloodline. Soon, a day passed and a new one began. Chapter 208: Moonlight Academy Graduation. A month later, in Moonlight Empire, a festive atmosphere pervaded as the first batch of students of the Moonlight Academy was about to graduate. On the podium, Maximus was delivering a speech. "First of all, congratulations to students who are graduating this year. These 10 years must have been tough for all of you," Maximus joked a little. The graduating students also smiled.
"Your Majesty, it's not that hard."
"That's right, we think it too easy and needs to be harder," one student said, giving an evil idea.
"No. It's already super hard."
Those who had not yet graduated wailed. The standards of study in Moonlight Academy had already increased so much that even the top talents, if lazy for a second, could be kicked out of the academy. It could be said that when it comes to intensity, Moonlight Academy would not lose to the Origin Arcana Institute. From resources, teachers, facilities, all of it was complete up to Tier 6. "Don't worry, I will not be the one deciding that," Maximus said, patting the somewhat sober Dean, Silver Atom. "Now that you are graduating, it's time to go into the outside world. For now, Moonlight Empire is still too small to accommodate all of you. Some of you may be reluctant to part ways with this land. However, the journey can't begin if you always stay at home. You need to get out there, to the 4 continents, to the chaotic sea. You need to find what you are worth, the meaning of your life. Our Moonlight Empire can't babysit you forever. The Empire also needs nurturing, the support that you bring in. Now, dear students, again, congratulations on graduating. May you find what you truly are outside these boundaries. However, always remember, Moonlight Empire is your home. If you're tired outside, you always have a home to come back to. Maximus ended his speech. Soon, a resounding cheer filled the place. Millions upon millions students couldn't help but be moved by their Majesty's speech. These graduating students thought about their grueling but peaceful life in the academy. Now that they were graduating, they would either stay in Moonlight Empire or venture outside. As the most talented individuals in the Empire, they couldn't just rot and suck blood from the place that nurtured them. Thus, most of them decided to venture outside, giving back to the one who nurtured them. What moved them the most was the home they could always return to. Don't worry, Your Majesty, we will not disappoint. Most of the students vowed. In the castle, Maximus and Lux were arguing. Father, I don't really want to study. It's a waste of time and money, Lux said with distress. Time is money, and all the school stuff keeps wasting it. You can skip school, right? Why do you still have this problem? Maximus asked in puzzlement. There are various activities that I need to attend, otherwise, the teacher will punish me, Lux said pitifully. Skipping school is fine, but you need to finish all the assigned tasks before you do so. And this is a problem. For money-oriented tasks, Lux can do it without breaking a sweat. But other than that, even if Lux uses all his brain cells, he can barely achieve anything. It's not that he is stupid, but his study is only concentrated on various economics, the situation of the market, etc. Lux needs to keep track of all this throughout the day. How can he still have time to study other knowledge? As for why go through all the trouble for him, this is his life. Stopping it means stopping to breathe. Please, Dad, can you exempt me from the school? No, you must go to school, your brothers and sisters can finish it, you should also. Maximus didn't relent. But Dad, I can't really handle school. Lux teared up. Lux even tried to bribe his teacher with some money, who knew that he was given an even harder task. All this school stuff was really too much for such a little child. Then what are you going to do? Of course, to start a business. Lux's eyes lit up. What has he been studying all this time if not to start a business? Dad, you are wasting all your resources if you do not start a business. The mere potion-making alchemy shop in the arcane continent is not enough. What Dad has the most is manpower, letting it sit in the Empire is a waste. For example, the Aetherium pavilion established by Dad in the early days. Although they were quite prosperous in Moonlight Empire, becoming the largest controller of wealth, it's not enough. How can a single place satisfy such a great wealth? There is also Dad's guild. It's quite embarrassing to use such talented people as construction workers. They should be out there fighting and earning resources. There are even those graduating students earlier. Venture outside? That's sending them to die. They should shoulder the burden of the Empire and earn some money to support it. How can we let them be free and be wild? Lux talked endlessly about his idea, leaving Maximus speechless. It's not that Maximus didn't think about what Lux pointed out. It's that he didn't bother to waste his time for little money. His hands were already full of things. How could he still manage a business? All right, you are great. Maximus stopped Lux from talking any longer. Does that mean I'll no longer need to study? No, you still need to study. Oh, Lux wilted down like a plant. He thought he could convince his father somehow. Who knew that he was as stubborn as an old cow? However, Maximus continued. However what? Lux looked exited, seeing that there's still a change. However, you only need to attend the exams and no longer need to bother yourself with activities and tasks. I will talk to the school about this later, Maximus said after thinking. With the success of the final test he suggested earlier, Maximus's relationship with the Lumina Chrysalis Guild was closer. He heard that the guild was even praised by Dean Fialon for such a good job. Are you for real, Dad? Lux asked excitedly. Just be sure that you don't tire yourself too much. Don't worry, Dad. I have unlimited energy. What else do you need? I can fulfill you now that I'm in a good mood, Maximus said after thinking. Then thanks, Dad. I just need all the information regarding the Aetherium Pavilion, Jewel Crown Pavilion, and the students graduating this year. Furthermore, the authority to make changes and manage these groups, Lux requested. All right, I'll ask Dorian to give you some authority and the information that you want.
How about a budget? You don't want some?
It's not needed, Dad. I still have a few trillion magic crystals, Lux said proudly. These are all the money he earned through blood and sweat. If not for the stock market being too volatile, Lux could ramp up his money to an unimaginable amount.
Yes, there is a stock market.
With the virtual world, Aetherium Realm 2.0 serving as a communication hub from all over the world. The daily transactions of such a stock market can reach billions of trillions every day. Such an exchange of wealth can be said to be heaven for Lux. Unfortunately, he is too weak and inexperienced right now. The changes in such a stock market can be said to be faster than the speed of light. Without a fast information channel and a quick brain, he would only be throwing his money into a ditch. Furthermore, there are diviners and seers all over the place. Without the protection of his strength or some item, he can easily be misled and cheated. Thus, he can only settle for small changes and work hard to make it bigger. As for Maximus, he also tried this stock market once. Unfortunately, he lost tens of trillions of money in just a few seconds. Even with all preparations, transcendent mastery of stock marketing, information on the market, divining, calculations, all that he could think of. However, as soon as he put in the money, it was swallowed faster than the abyss. Maximus noticed that he was just being guided by some being to lose money. Because of this, Maximus quit quickly. He didn't want to waste his time on such bullshit any longer. What Maximus didn't know is that the one who cheated him was a Tier 9 Apex Sovereign, Goldfiend Vanderbilt. He was the founder and creator of the stock market and Aetherium Realm 2.0. When it comes to wealth, it can be said he is the richest and can rival several domains. Of course, he is not yet to reach the wealth of Radius and Alabaster. The two own the Divine Continent and Beast Continent. How can a businessman like Goldfiend match the two? As for why he cheated Maximus for just a few trillion, it's because he felt a huge wealth flowing from Maximus. He thought that such a newcomer would be stubborn and would rather lose his fortune than admit defeat. Who knew that Maximus escaped faster than a rabbit? Goldfiend can only give up and search for new targets. Chapter 209 Aetherium Guild. After obtaining everything he needed from his father, Lux started to engage in business. His first visit was to the leader of the Aetherium Pavilion. In the Moonlight Empire, it could be said that, besides Maximus, the Aetherium Pavilion is the richest. Upon arriving at the headquarters of the pavilion, Lux was greeted by Andre, the controller of the pavilion. "It's nice to meet you, young master," Andre greeted respectfully. He didn't know why this young master had come to him. Prime Minister Dorian had only told him that the son of His Majesty would discuss business with him. However, seeing such a juvenile look, Andre couldn't help but doubt if he had heard Prime Minister Dorian correctly. Regardless, Andre put up a respectful attitude. As the son of His Majesty, an order from him could get Andre kicked out of his position. "Nice to meet you too, Andre. I've heard a lot about you," Lux said, not showing any timidity. "Let's come inside and talk, young master." "Sure, but just call me Lux." "No need to be so respectful." "Then let's talk inside, young master Lux." Andre repeated, still keeping a respectful attitude. Inside a magnificent office, silence hung in the air as two cunning business minds faced each other. "Andre, I heard that you've managed the Aetherium Pavilion since the beginning." Lux started. "Yes, I've been thankful for this opportunity presented by His Majesty all my life. If it weren't for this, I wouldn't be what I am today," Andre said sincerely. From a vegetable seller to the Empire's controller of wealth, it could be said that his journey was like heaven and hell. Moreover, using all the resources he accumulated, he had reached the 5th tier in strength, making him one of the strongest in the Empire. Then what are your thoughts on the Aetherium Pavilion? Are you planning to extend it beyond the continent? Lux asked curiously. As his future subordinate and possibly assistant, Lux had to be clear if Andre had the potential or was just a mediocre person. "That's right. To be honest with you, young Master Lux, I have long planned to extend our business to the Arcane Continent. However, just the Curse Continent is already a challenge. Previously, we could do business with other islands, but now that there is a beast tide, we can barely move," Andre lamented. With the unlimited support of Maximus, they were able to buy ships to do business with other kingdoms. Little did they know that a few years later, a beast tide would sweep through the seas. Now all these investments have gone down the drain. A few months ago, Andrei was a little sorry for a while for disappointing His Majesty's trust in him. At that time he couldn't even sleep peacefully, often having nightmares. "What do you find difficult about doing business in the Arcane Continent?" Lux asked. As for potential business in the Cursed Continent, he didn't care about it for now. In the ongoing era of imperial domination, doing business here was too difficult and a waste of time. Even if he earned huge war money if done right, it wasn't worth spending time in such a barren place. There is not much value long-term prospect in such a place. Of course, if his father became the Holy Emperor, everything would be different. By then doing business should be like picking money. "Truthfully, I don't know much about the Arcane Continent," Andrei admitted. "But I just feel like the Aetherium Pavilion is not ready yet," he added without lies. "Nice intuition but a lack of preparedness," Lux concluded. Lux also knew that the Aetherium Pavilion was not ready. Reading the information on the pavilion's personnel, this is the conclusion he came to. Andrei has such great business talent, being able to conclude what he can't. However, all this inadequacy was not a problem now that Lux was in charge. "Anyway, you're such a rough gem to be polished. How about it, do you want to be my assistant?" Lux offered. "Assistant?" Andre froze. "What assistant? Aren't we here to talk about business? How can it seem like you're soliciting me?" Andrei thought wildly. "Oh, right, I haven't told you my purpose, have I?" Lux laughed a little, forgetting why he came here. "My father, the ruler of the Moonlight Empire, hereby grants me the authority to manage the Aetherium Pavilion. I thought I could just send you out to the farm. Who knew that you're also a great talent?" Lux spoke carelessly. He didn't care what others thought. With his father backing him, could they still disagree and refute him? This news shocked Andrei, and at the same time, a cold sweat appeared on his forehead. He was nearly sent to a farm if it weren't for his ingenuity. "How about it? Are you willing to be my assistant?" Lux asked with a smile. "Of course. How can I disagree with being a subordinate of young Master Lux?" Andrei agreed immediately. As for not being the manager of the Aetherium Pavilion, Andrei didn't care anymore. As long as he didn't get expelled from his position, everything was all right. After all, this is what made him who he is today. How can he just let it go in a fit of anger? Andrei thought that Lux was just playing and would sooner or later get bored. After that, he could come back to his position as the manager of the Aetherium Pavilion. After all, what does a kid know? Anyway, His Majesty is rich, Lux can do whatever he wants. Then, nice working with you, Lux smiled. It's my pleasure, young Master Lux.
Oh, then let's go, we still have a lot to do.
Lux stood up, not wasting any time. What are we doing, young Master Lux? Andrei said, flattering. Of course, recruiting subordinates. You don't expect to use ordinary people to do business in the Arcane Continent, do you? Doing business in the Arcane Continent? Andrei fell into thought. It seemed like the ambition of the young master in front of him was much bigger than he thought. Then who are we hiring? Those pitiful graduate students, after all, they would have to venture outside for a while. It's just right to recruit them so they can have a little backing in the outside world. Andrei's mouth twitched at such a plan, and at the same time, he was somewhat envious. Some time ago, he tried to hire students from the Moonlight Academy. Who knew that they were so arrogant, treating money as if it were dung? They would rather starve than get close to money. A few hours later, Lux and Andrei arrive at an open wasteland. Now various higher-tier mages began constructing a recruitment station. In just a few hours, a rough silhouette of a great city was built. Since Lux decided to do good business, the first step is to create their main office. Seeing expensive material just to build a recruitment station, Andrei was a little dumbfounded. It indeed the son of His Majesty, so willful, doing whatever he wanted. Soon, over 1 million students attended Lux's recruitment on such short notice. All of these graduates were automatically accepted and divided into 3 categories. First, the most important, the battle sector, the lifeblood of his great business plan. In the Arcane Continent, outside the boundaries of cities, it was a free-for-all. All resources were yours as long as you acquired them, from spiritual plants and minerals to beasts, etc. Unless it was private land, you were free to loot whatever you wanted. Furthermore, the special feature of these wild lands was their enormous resources. These resources were either artificially generated or planted for future generations to fight for. You can get all these resources as long as you're willing to fight. How can these newly graduated students resist such temptations? They quickly sign up, fearing that the spots would be filled. However, not all these newly graduated students are eager to fight. Thus, another two sectors were given, the production sector and the service sector. The production sector is for those like alchemists, mechanics, gastronomists, spiritual farmers, array masters, etc. As long as they have a profession that produces value, they are welcome in the production sector. Although it may not earn as much as the battle sector, safety is secured. They just need to stay in a safe place and earn money. How can they still complain? As for the service sector, they would be the managers of the Aetherium Guild. That's right, a guild. After getting permission from his father, Lux quickly set up a guild. Although it's only a Tier 1 guild, it gave Lux a lot of motivation. This service sector cannot be joined by just anyone. All of them need to pass different tests before undergoing an interview with Lux. After all, it's the management team. How can Lux be sloppy? Thus, a grueling recruitment and training ensued for a few months. Looking at the millions of newly trained business soldiers, Lux smiled widely. Now the first step is complete. Lux is one step closer to emptying the pockets of the people in the Arcane Continent. The people on the Arcane Continent also felt a little premonition. They felt that a beast was staring at their hard-earned money. Chapter 210 Business Negotiation. 2 years later. Maximus was in his training chamber, meditating as usual. After a few hours, Maximus exhaled, finished with his meditation.
Huh?
Training is really satisfying. Opening his system panel, he nodded at his progress. Maximus Shadowcrest. Tier 5, 1.98%. Mana compatibility, rank 9-dimensional source. Soul amplitude, 10 million. Soul will, 5,372,583. Although his progress when it came to tier is slow, increasing only a few decimals in percentage. His soul amplitude is finally full. Knowledge upon knowledge was devoured by him until he finally filled the 10 million soul amplitude. After he filled it up, he began working with his soul will. So far, he was already halfway there. Maximus decided to address his slow training speed once he filled up the soul will. As for how he can do that, it's, of course, by upgrading his affinity. His affinity is still stuck to 3 years ago. Until now, the 11-15 elements are still at rank 7 and 3 supreme elements at rank 4. It's not that he didn't want to upgrade it quickly, but he needed trillions of potential points before he started. With his current system points acquisition rate, it would take him about a year to get 1 trillion points. Maximus figured that instead of wasting the points sitting in his system, he would use them to strengthen himself until it could no longer take effect. Coming out of his training room, he was greeted by Lux. "Good morning, Dad. You finally finished your training. All right, stop chirping, tell me what you wanted." During these few years, the Aetherium Guild grew at an exponential rate. In the Silverleaf domain, their main base of operation, Aetherium Guild is already a household name. Every major city has at least an Aetherium pavilion in its midst. Such growth also caused repercussions. Various top business guilds, pavilions, and families. All these top echelons of people within the Silverleaf domain eyed this growing little devouring beast. Various business tactics, price suppression, false propaganda, intimidation, attacks, etc. Anything that can blacken Aetherium Guild and bring it down was used. Even Maximus's status as a core student can't stop these groups of jackals from hunting. After all, when it comes to interest, courage knows no bounds. As long as they can earn money now, who cares about the future? Anyway, unless Maximus becomes an apex sovereign, there is nothing he can do to them. Fortunately, inside the city boundaries, killing was forbidden. Any attempt to do so would get one killed in the cruelest way possible. As for outside the city, in the various wilderness? That's where Lux was stumped. As long as it's business dealings, Lux can claim to be invincible. But when it comes to a fight, he is helpless. These jackals ambushed his subordinate from time to time, causing him large casualties. Tens of thousands of students who had just graduated died in the first ambush of these jackals. If it were not for Lux's alertness and his decision to make all his subordinates retreat without a second hesitation, the casualties could have wiped out his men then and there. After that, Lux didn't let his men out of the city for a while to collect resources until he thought of a plan. However, such a result was what these jackals wanted. Without the supply of resources, the Aetherium Guild began showing a decline. Even the proud Lux couldn't do anything about it. Finally, in desperation, Lux could only grit his teeth and seek help from his father. After that, with the help of the Shadow Hunters Guild, everything somewhat stabilized. Those jackals also held their fangs, waiting for an opportunity. To this date, Lux's head still hurt when he thought of this. Without the necessary strength, one can't really possess enormous wealth.
Dad, how about you give me a discount?
Almost all the income of the shop is used to recruit the Shadow Hunters Guild. I can't even earn enough pocket money.
Look, I'm already getting thin, Lux pointed as he teared up.
This is Lux's solution. If he didn't have enough strength, then hire one. Coincidentally, he can hire his father's guild for a cheap price compared to a mercenary guild. As the Aetherium pavilion spreads all over the Silverleaf domain, it can earn nearly 100 trillion. However, even with all of this, he can only earn a few trillion magic crystals a month, which is really pitiful. The cost of salary, operation fees, miscellaneous expenses, and hiring the Shadow Hunter Guild nearly drained all his income. Lux loathed those nasty jackals for cheating and not fighting fairly. Lux can only coax his father to give him a larger discount.
No more discount.
I also have a guild to run and a family to feed, Maximus showed a hurt expression. However, in reality, Maximus also earned a lot from Lux's hiring. Although it's only a few trillion, which is nothing to him, it gives him some joy. After all, his children were finally becoming filial and giving him some pocket money. As for helping Lux solve his problem, Maximus had no thought to this. If his children can't even solve this bit of a problem, then they should go home and spend his money. Anyway, he can afford it.
But Dad, don't you pity me? Lux still acted coquettish. Sure, how about giving me a higher shareholding?
Maximus teased. As the previous owner of the Aetherium pavilion and the one who nurtured his subordinates, Lux reluctantly gave his father a 20% income share of the Aetherium Guild.
Impossible.
Lux immediately refused.
How can he further dilute his ownership?
Although it's his father, when it comes to money, Lux is the stingiest.
Then what do you want?
Anyway, I won't give you any more discount, Maximus said. I will think this thoroughly. Anyway, more share would be impossible, Lux said like a wilted plant. Looks like he can't coax his father today.
Let's try again tomorrow, Lux thought.
Hold up, I have a business proposition for you, Maximus thought for a while and stopped Lux.
What is it, Dad? As long as it's not borrowing money, I can help with anything.
Lux patted his chest.
Ha, don't worry, come here, Maximus just laughed.
Holding Lux, he communicated with the Timeless World and teleported them inside. Timeless World.
Whoa. Where's this?
Is this a medicinal heaven? Lux looked around dumbfounded. Inside the Timeless World, it was like a paradise. With flora and fauna all around, what's more eye-catching is a 11-towering tree that exudes an extraordinary aura. Lux felt the wealth flowing within then is like a sun. If an alchemist were here, they would be shocked by the flora and fauna growing around. From the rarest Tier 1 spiritual plant to Tier 8 spiritual plant. All the seeds that Maximus could afford were planted in this timeless world. With 100,000 times time difference, about 300,000 years passed in here. All kinds of low-tier seeds had already mutated or ascended to a higher tier than their limit. Looking at Lux's shocked expression, Maximus couldn't help but smile. This timeless world is his huge wealth, with all the rare seeds as investment. Maximus threw tens of quadrillions just to grow it to this degree.
How about it? Is this world beautiful?
Maximus teased.
Beautiful?
Lux unconsciously muttered. This must be the most beautiful world I have ever seen. Lux looked longingly. Although he didn't know what kinds of flora and fauna were around him. Using his feeling, he can estimate how much such a wealth is worth.
Where are we, Father?
Is this a small world? Did you find this in your early years? Wait, does that mean that this is ours?
So this is where you got your wealth?
Lux muttered as he asked questions one after another. All right, stop, Maximus covered Lux's mouth helplessly. First, this is the Timeless World, a small world I got as a reward in the world competition 3 years ago.
So yes, this is mine.
Maximus emphasized. As for where I got my wealth, it's a secret, Maximus teased. Maximus didn't care if Lux questioned where he earned his money from. Anyway, as long as he is careful, those apex sovereigns wouldn't bother him. Furthermore, sooner or later, he would present the Myriad World Mall to the world. After all, doing business alone was never profitable. Based on the policy of the Myriad World Mall, for every person invited by the user in a new dimension, one will get 0.00001% of that person's spending and income. Meaning, for each person you invite, you will get a tax of 0.00001% for every transaction. This measure is for those who possess the Myriad World Mall to spread it all over the dimension. After all, the more, the merrier. This will also prevent people from monopolizing the world for their own benefit. Of course, it was only for the Myriad World Mall. As for his system, he will never spread it out.